1 second, 1 second. It doesn't work, or?
It's rolling now.
Sorry?
I was trying to get the webcast to go. It's freaking out, but I'm recording. You're good to go.
Oh, okay. Can you give me a sign when I have 10 minutes left? Okay. Just like something.
You're really late starting.
Yeah, I know. But you know, I can talk to my. Oh, you know this session already.
Grumpy face in the first row?
Yeah, but you heard it in the Jam Beyond. Okay, can I start? All right. So welcome to the session. There's nothing on the screen, guys. Okay, once again, welcome to the session, Fast and Secure Joomla Websites. And once upon a time, a really smart guy said, security and performance are the main factors of a Joomla website. But wait, it was not Albert Einstein. Fake news. It was me, and I said it, I know. So I said it some years ago at the Joomla Day Germany. I did a similar talk, and you see how crowded it was. It was really full, the room was full, and the people kept coming. And this showed me that the people want to learn, they want to know, they want to see, and they want to understand how it works and what they can do to improve security and performance. And I think for me, it's really important, and they are really crucial to have success online. And if you don't pay attention to these points, to these factors, you won't be successful. And also, unfortunately, a lot of users don't take these factors or they take it as granted, so they don't pay attention to it. So I think it's also we need to teach the people. So if you're creating websites for customers or your agency, you have to teach your customers that they pay attention to it. And so over the years, I collected a lot of do's and don'ts, and today I want to present you some basics. So to start, what you can do to get easily results. And so we won't talk about SQL injections when it comes to security or no attack vectors, something, or code. You won't see any code lines. So this is not a technical talk at all. And so we have not a lot of time, so time constraints. These topics alone are very big, and all separated under other points, bullet points could fill full sessions. So I have to go really quickly through all the points to my list. And if you have further questions, I'm here the whole conference during the whole time, and we have a booth there outside, and you can just come by and we can talk about specific topics or problems that you have, and I can help you with them. So let's start. First, security. So what does security mean? Why security is so important? And we developed a three-layer approach to make it easily to understand what you can do to improve the security on your website. So in the security, I think to understand security is quite easy. So you don't want to have people in your house or strangers in your house. This is the same with a website and with your system, with the server. You don't want to have people that have no permission rights to access your system and misuse it for sending spam emails, to upload Trojans or shell scripts, or to redirect your website to illegal websites. So this is what we don't want to. And if you have a security issue, then somebody already has access, and this is what we want to avoid. And as you should know, code is never bug-free. Or flawless. So in every code there are some bugs or some security issues. What is secure today can be broken or unsecured tomorrow. So security is also an ongoing task. It's not a fire and forget. So it's very important that you be aware that you always have to keep an eye on security, and don't take it as secure as the state will stay as it is right now. So the three-layer approach, I think it's quite easy to understand. So we have three layers. So it's the user level, it's the system itself, the application, so Joomla in this case, and the server where the application is running on. And if it comes to the first layer, the user, it's quite obvious what we have in this layer is, of course, passwords. I think you read a lot. I said it already 1,000 times. Use secure passwords. But still, I see a lot of people are using really weak 6-digit long, characters long passwords. And this is very important. Use really strong passwords. They cannot be guessed easily and have some special characters. And the important thing, or the cool thing is, if you're using a password manager, you don't have to remember all those passwords. So you don't have to remember the long passwords, you just have to remember one single master password. It can be very long. I have a master password over 30 characters long, but once I remembered it, I know my password, and I don't know any passwords of my website. I don't know my SSH. I don't know anything. I don't even know my email passwords. I don't know them because they're really long, because I created them with a password manager, with a password generator, and I don't know them. So I just know my master password. With the master password, I can have access to all my passwords. And if you don't want to use online service for your master password, you can use also, there are solutions with a local database, and you have your database locally on your machine, and your passwords or your database is not shared in the cloud in the server. So you can even improve the security there. And if you're using a password manager, it's of course easily to have only once, use a password only once. So never use a password twice or on other services. Always have different passwords. And on the next slide, this is a kind of a new factor. So don't use admin or administrator or webmaster or root as a username. Of course, as you know, maybe you heard, so brute force attacks are not really efficiently, and only a small piece of percentage is done by hacks are done by brute force attacks. But still, it's still a way to hide the admin user. So maybe there's a security flow where the hacker needs to use the name of the super user, and this is a good way to if the super user name cannot be seen, displayed externally. So this is a good way to hide, to mitigate such security risk. And also, what I also often see, people are not separating accounts. So they use just one single super user account and for everything. So if you have, for instance, if you write blog articles and you just need front-end access, don't use your super account for this. Create a new user and just use this special user for the front-end content update mechanism, content update processes or actions. So and use just a super user account only if you do maintenance tasks like update or install extensions or backups, whatever. But don't use the same user for small things like update a module or update the content of a module, or an article. That's also very important. And another thing is never share your password. So maybe you know I have also a private Joomla project, Rubik Joomla extensions. And I get a lot of emails from people who are using my software, my extensions, and requesting, asking for support. And they send me the super user passwords. And this is very, very bad. Never do this. And never do it if you were not asked to. And if you have to do, you should never send the super user credentials for your user, and never from your production site. So always create a subdomain, a copy of your website to remove all sensitive data, and just limit it as much as possible, and just that the developer, the supporter can access and fix the problem. So this is very important. And the funny thing is, we had the 3.5, and I'm not sure, the notification plugin, 3.5, when it was introduced. And suddenly I think I got over 10 or 15 emails with notification that my website has a new update and I should update it. But it was not my website. It was website when I once had access to the website 3 years ago and had to fix something. And I got all the emails with the notification that my website is outdated. And what? So they never removed my credential or my accounts. So I could still log in with the super user in their accounts and do stuff. That's crazy. So in general, we say in Germany, gesunden Menschenverstand verwenden. So use your common sense. Don't be stupid. Second layer is the Joomla layer. So what do we have there? So I have Viktor's golden rules, I call them. So there are 2 rules, very important rules. If you go out, remember the Viktor's golden rules. You can tweet about it. Hashtag Viktor's golden rules. I want to see something. Okay, first rule, create backups. Most important, create backups. You have to have backups every time. And also not outdated backups, really up-to-date backups. And it's important not to just create the backups. If you occasionally log into your backend, you have to develop a backup strategy. So do backups on a regular base, and you don't have to do it manually. We have a lot of solutions out there where you can automate everything. Like what I do is I create a backup weekly of the whole system, file system, and I create daily backups of the database. So they are more important for me because I don't change a lot of things on the file system, but I change, we have forum entries or whatever, so I change more in the database. So it's very important to have, it's even more important to have an up-to-date backup of the database than from the files. The files you have somewhere in all the backup that you can restore. Or if it comes to extensions, you can download the newest version, but still you need the data from the database. That's very important. So develop a strategy and keep the backups for a longer time, of course. You can use also incremental backups if you don't have enough web space. But what you also need to do, what's very important, is to test the backups. So I know a lot of people who are creating backups, and they have a lot of backups, 1,000 backup files, but they cannot create recover them from the backups. So they are completely useless. So you have to, periodically, you have to test your backups for functionality. That's very, very important. So I think you heard some months ago the story with GitLab. They crashed the database and they couldn't restore, even though they had 3 backup mechanisms in place. So because they never tested the restoration process. So always try to restore. You can do it on the local machine, or you can do it on a subdomain, or even, okay, subfolder I wouldn't use, but still, you can just try it out, and if it works, save this backup file, archive, and close it and in your safe, and you're good. And if it's possible, you should prefer external backup solutions. What I like to do is more because not on the same level, not in the same application level. So if you have the possibility to create full backups of the database on the file system with your hosting company, or if you have a control panel like Plesk, you can create it from there. I would prefer this solution because you are not running within the same application that you want to store. This is also a big security issue. We will come later to this point. So if it's possible, if it's not possible, if you have a managed account and you don't have SSH access or whatever, or from the control panel of your hosting company, you can still use solutions that will have a Keeper backup or easy Joomla backup. So the second rule, very important rule, install updates. So those rules are very, very important. Always, always, always install updates. Not just the core, extensions, templates, everything. Always install updates. And if it comes to security updates, install them immediately. Please don't wait 2 days, 3 days and see, whether it can break my website or not. Always install them immediately. And of course, you can create a copy of your domain, of your website, and try it first there. But I think the security is way more important than to have a broken slider or whatever.
6 hours.
6 hours. So we have after 6 hours. So there's a text starting after 6 hours after we release a security update. So if you don't update in this time span, the attacks will start and you can get hacked easily. So don't wait too long if you know. And security lead David Ayadin. As you know, if it's really a severe hack or security flaw, we always notify the community beforehand. So we also notify that we will update next week, and then you should be ready. So pay attention to the tweets, to the Facebook post that the official channel is posting, and also the security channel, really? Yeah, as well. So always, and they're really crucial, very important. But if you have backups, but still, it's not an excuse if you don't install updates. So, but you are safe. And second point to this point, if you have extensions, look whether they support the update server functionality. Because if you have, there are many extensions out there that don't support the internal mechanism for the update notification. And if you have the choice, you should always go to with the extension with the update server mechanism, and because it's really bad. You think you are up to date, but you have an very old extension that is not updated, that does not support the notification itself, and this is not good. So you want to have always the latest version. So look in the extension. So if you go to the Joomla extensions directory, you always see on the right side where you want to download it. There's a notification whether this extension supports the update mechanism. So always look for extensions that do support this. All right, so another point and more generic point, so use as few extensions as possible. So this is very important. So I had already nightmares when I had access to some Joomla websites. So I saw 40, 50 extensions installed, and only 2 or 3 were used actually on the website. So they just installed everything what they found and just never uninstalled it. So always just use what you really need and remove everything what you have that you don't need. Because you will never pay attention to these extensions anymore. You won't update them. They will just lie on the file system, and sooner or later somebody will find some security issues there. So always remove everything. And also a good possibility, what I always try to do is to solve as much as possible with the core, even though I'm an extensions developer. But still, you can solve many things with template overrides, for instance. You can even include sliders, whatever you want. You can do it with simple template overrides. It's quite easy. You don't need a special component or a plugin to do small things, to achieve small things. And what's also possible, it's not quite hard to write a small plugin. If you need a if you have a specific requirement, you can also write a small plugin, or get somebody who writes you, but not a public one. So you can solve a lot of things with the core. Try to remove as much as possible attack vectors or attack areas. The more you have, the more attack areas you have. Two-factor authentication is also very, very important. If you don't use it, try to use it. So we have several ways. I also have a YubiKey here. You have a YubiKey here? Can you show it? You have to? Yeah, can you put it on? So this is a possible two-factor. It's hardware or it's a software. You have two ways of to secure to have a two-factor. So it's good. Second factor. So it's a second barrier. So if somebody knows your password, I don't know, if you're on the airport and you log into your website and they get your password in clear text, they still cannot log into your website because they don't have the second factor. The second factor is only what you have, so only the thing that you have. So you can use, we have already built in 2 plugins. So we have the software solution, so like Google Authenticator. So you have something on an app on your phone. And then you just get a number, a 6-digit number, and you can just put the number in, and then you can log in with your credentials, of course. Or you have the hardware device. It creates automatically a really long hash or whatever this is, and then you can also log in. So try to, if it's possible, try to go for it. And it's not. Of course, it can be frustrated if you don't have the device with you, so you can not log in, even if you know the password. But still, it's a good way to improve if it works. It's improved the security dramatically. What you also can do is the complexity of passwords. As you know, we have in the user component, in the options, if you go to the settings, you have an area where you can set the complexity of passwords, like the number of characters, like how many special characters should be used or should be in the password, and so on. So try to, if you really have a registration if you have a forum or whatever where people should register, set the password complexity higher. So go for at least 10 characters or something like this. So the higher the complexity, the better it is for you. So don't put it on. So we are still in the second layer, Joomla, backend protection, very important. Always secure the backend so that nobody can just write administrator and see the login form. What you can do is, of course, to use htaccess. If you have an Apache, you can use htaccess rules, or you can use plugins. So we have plugins, but this is not the recommended way. So if you can go with a server-side protection, you should always prefer the htaccess protection. Or if you have a control panel from your hosting company, then use this instead of a plugin that you install additionally. So this is because the problem is if you have a security flaw in a file or whatever. So the plugin is not triggered if somebody calls the file directly. The plugin is only triggered if you go through the application of Joomla application. So this is some kind. It's better than nothing. But of course, try to go with a server-side solution, or you can even just allow access to specific IP addresses or whatever. So try to limit the access to this administrator folder and all the files under it. What you can do is to test the integrity of the core files. Is like I have a MD5 checksum scanner. If you want to just look at Joomla extensions directly, the checksum scanner, and you can check the integrity. So are the files really intact? So are they still the same, the original files, or were they edited or whatever? So change. So this is what you can do, and we also have the possibility to overwrite core. But I don't think this will solve a problem when you get hacked. So this is what you shouldn't do if you get hacked, because it won't help that much, because maybe you have a shell script there or they upload some files. So this is not really a big help. But what you can do just for quick, if you get over or get a new project, or you want to have a new customer and he has an existing website, you can just do a small MD5 check. What? 5 minutes left? 10 minutes. Oh wow, I have to hurry. I have performance topic. Okay. Okay, I switch over. So if you have forms, activate. I know people hate, and I had captures too, but the no capture is quite good. So you don't see the capture at all. But if something is not really right, or Google thinks it's not okay, then you will see the capture, the visible capture. But suspicious. But usually you don't see the capture, and saves you from being attacked. Especially if you have the option send email to my address itself. So this is what bots are targeting, because they can send a lot of spam emails through this option. So because they just put all possible addresses there, and can send spam mails from your server. This is a way to secure. Disable user registration. Mark. Yes, I think it was already included, yeah, as far as I know. Not? Okay, you have pull request tomorrow, please. Mark, okay?
6 months ago, but...
GitHub. All right, so disable user registration. The good thing is in the latest versions, this is by default deactivated. That's really good. But in older versions, that was by default it was activated. And if you don't need user registration, just deactivate it. Check the user rights and remove unneeded user accounts. That's what I talked about previously. So if you don't need, if the user doesn't need any access anymore, remove this account and check the user rights. Of course, if they try to set up your SEL settings really as low as possible, so they just can do what they need to do and not more, and don't have more rights. Oh, I have to hurry. So, and of course, be careful with security extensions. The big problem with this is extensions are running on the same application. If they get hacked or somebody hacks your system over another flow, and then they can manipulate the security extension, and they can display you a wrong result, and you think you are safe. So it gives you a wrong feeling of security. Try to go another layer, application layer, like server side, mod security rules, firewall rules, something like this. Okay, I have to hurry. Server, keep your server up to date. So operation system, PHP, whatever, what you have. Of course, if you have a managed contract, your hosting company will do this. But still, if you can go to a higher PHP version, do it. Check the permission rights. Like, for example, configuration PHP does only need read access. You don't need write access on this. Just go through it, and you can just check the rights. User SSL certificate, that's very important, especially if your forms, if your online shop, wherever the user or your visitor have to input data. It's crucial to have a SSL certificate to go over HTTPS, because the channel is secured and encrypted. And
one moment, there is not a translation.
I'm too fast, or? It's okay? All right, so this is very important. So secure your user. We have the Let's Encrypt. You can get easily and very inexpensive, free SSL certificates. And CDN, it's not bad if it mitigates like Cloudflare. It's a security proxy. It mitigates like DDoS attacks on your server. If you expect a lot of visitors, it's always very good to have something like this. So they're sitting in front of your server, and they can stop bad or malicious requests, and also just let the good ones through. And they can also cache their response, and helps your server not to use too much resources. Database only internal usage. if you have an own server, you can set up your MySQL database that it's only callable from inside localhost and not from external. Firewall rules. What I do also, you can close ports. So there are a lot of bots that are scanning your server and try to open ports. If you don't have a mail server on the server, you don't need to open ports for mail, SMTP, IMAP, POP3 or whatever. And also block countries. If it's just local shop, you don't have to have access from China or Russia or whatever. So you can also block countries via the firewall rules. Okay. And also, if you have an own server, always only allow SSH login via SSH keys, never through passwords. Because I have some test servers running on, and if I log in 1 day later or 2 days later, I have over 100,000 failed login attempts. So there's so much traffic. There's so many bad boys out there that try to hack your server. Always do not allow permit. Okay, forbid performance. Sorry that I have to speed up. I have so much to say. So when it comes to performance, I speak about transfer time. If the request started and gets to your browser, and then the response time from the browser back from the server back to the client to the browser, and also the latency in between. So we have a delay in the transmission, and of course the processing speed on the server. So how fast can the server respond to the request? And you know how that is. The response gets to the server via HTTP. And then the server working, get the data from the database and blah, 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 creates the HTML output and sends it back to the server. And this is, of course, very important especially if you're on a mobile network, it's very slow, and you want to have some information data, and while you're waiting, you get very frustrated. So it's very important, and you can lose a lot of customers. If you're trying to sell things, you have an online shop, and the people have to wait for 10 seconds or whatever, so they get very frustrated, they will look for another shop. So the bounce rate will increase. So it's always good to have to work on the performance and always tweak and optimize the performance. So the Joomla performance on the Joomla side, also in general, not Joomla related, limit HTTP requests. So the less requests you have onto the server, the faster the website is built or the output is built. So what can you do to have less HTTP requests? So one HTTP request is always sent if you have if a resource is needed, like a JavaScript file, CSS file, image file. Also the HTML, the first request is the HTML file, and then the browser looks, okay, I need 5 more CSS files, and then requests again the CSS files. So what can you do to improve this? To limit the HTTP requests. One thing is to minify and concatenate the CSS files, CSS files. But if you're on HTTP2, this is not that important anymore because there are some mechanisms that improve the transfer and transmission also for many files, for many requested resources. But still, this is a good way if you're still running on HTTP 1.1 to concatenate. So you have, instead of 10 files, you have just one CSS file. So you have just one handshake, you have just one TCP connection request, and you put all the data through one channel, through one connection. And it helps a lot. It improves the speed a lot. And the same with CSS files. So you can do it with static files, like CSS and JS. And we have a very good plugin that I like to use. It's JWC Edge Optimize, and it does it quite good. So very good. So if you're looking, there's also a free version and a pro version, and I have the pro version too, and it's awesome. It works really, really good. This is really easy. This is just 1-2 steps. But always keep in mind, if you use such tuning plugins, they can break your site as well. So if you optimize too much, over-tune it, then they can break your site. So you have to find the right way, the right optimization possibility. Okay, what you can do is also replace images with icons. Of course, not the images that you see in galleries or whatever. If you have a gallery, you cannot replace the image with icons. But what I often see is like menu images or like module menu images that are loaded on every page. You should try to replace them with icons because it's really easy to load. You have just one file and then you have all the information, and you don't have to load each image. And of course, remove unneeded resources. This is what I see a lot of times of many on many Joomla websites. There's a lot of plugins, extensions that are loading a bunch of JSS, CSS files, and they are not used at all. Or the even worse is if they just load on every page the files, the static files, but are only used on one page of the website. So the files are loaded on every page because the plugin does not check whether it has to be triggered on this specific page. It just loads on every request. And this is very bad. So you have to look whether you really need this specific file that is loaded, and if not, remove it. So there are also some possibilities. I also have in my extension collection, I also have a plugin to remove on specific sites, specific JSS or CSS files. If you want, you can ask me. I can show you how it works. It's quite easy, but it helps you a lot. Also the same, we had the same with the switch from MooTools to jQuery. So MooTools was always loaded, and you didn't need it anymore. Most people didn't need it anymore, but it was still loaded. So compression, use compression. So the browser has to support the algorithm like JZip, the dflat, but in the request, in the header of the request, it says what algorithms are supported, and then the server can decide, okay, I will compress the files, send it then you have a big data, big package, and it will be way smaller, and then it will be sent to the client, and the client has to decompress it, and then shows the information. So it helps you a lot to have a way faster transmission time. Compression, but it's standard. It's standard nowadays. Everybody's using compression. One word to compression, I almost forgot. If you use the compression in the global settings, global configuration, you know we have the global in the global configuration we have an option use compression or whatever. Then only the HTML output, the first request, will be compressed. Because it goes to the application, to the Joomla application, and this can be compressed. The output will be compressed. But if you just use this setting, this option, your JavaScript files, your CSS files won't be compressed. So you have to do some more things, like in the htaccess, some directives that you want to compress images as well, JavaScript files as well, and so on, and icons as well, whatever. So you can just Google it, and then you see what you can type in and what you can use. Using cache, that will increase the performance significantly. It's very, very important. So we have several ways to cache. So you know we have in the global configuration to cache some parts of the website, but we have also the plugin to cache the complete output. So on further requests, you don't have to load, or the system Joomla does not have to load to do all the database queries because the output is already there. So we have the static file, and on another request with the same parameters, it can just send the static file directly back to the browser. So it will process. The process time will be way smaller. So it helps a lot. And I also improved it a little bit, so I also have a plugin that does the same with the page cache, but you can also store already the files, the information JZipped, compressed, so the server does not to compress them on a request again. It can send the compressed file back, so it's also a possibility to improve it a little bit. And optimize mobile output. I'm not talking about responsive websites. I think everybody already has a responsive website by now. What you can do, because the main problem with the responsive thing, with a bootstrap or whatever, so the problem is you just hide the information. You load the complete data, but you hide it via CSS, like display none. And this is not good, because if you're on a mobile device, and you have a big slider with 10 images, you still have to load the slider on the mobile device, and then it is removed from the view. And this is not good because you still have the latency or the data that has to be transferred. What is better, and there's another solution, another possibility, is to filter on the server side. So filter on the server. So the good thing is all normal browsers transfer a user agent in the header. And with the user agent, there's a free library available. You can decide, or you can specify what device is is doing the request. So is it a mobile? Is it a smartphone? Is it a tablet? Is it a desktop? And with this information, you can decide what should you show, or what should you send back to the client, the request, do the request. And I also have a plugin for this, device-specific content. And I included the free library, external library, and then you can just specify, if you have a slider, you can write in your template or a module where you include it, is mobile, then show. If not mobile, then show nothing. And this will help a lot. So you don't have to load a slider. Or if you have a sidebar with hundreds, 10 images, whatever, why should I load them if I don't show them on the mobile device? So this will. I had a project, and we had a big problem with mobile device, and this was the best solution, and it was really fast, and it helps a lot. So if you are interested, device-specific content is the name of my plugin. Just take a look. It's quite easy to integrate. You do it once, and it works. All right, so and remove errors. So if you're done, you configured everything, it runs, go to the browser console, open it, and look whether some errors are shown. So JavaScript errors, most of the time, if you concatenate, if you overdo the tweaking parts, you will find something. Or if you have a loading of non-existing files like images, or like if the template tries to load an icon or something, remove the includes in the code, so that the files are not requested anymore, because it's just an unneeded request, and it tries to get it, and then it gets an error response. This is bad. So try to remove and look whether you have errors, and remove the errors. Server side. So this is this also I think the Viktor's golden rules. Tweet about it. And the other thing is really important. You can forget everything, but this one you shouldn't forget. PHP 7. There's no reason not to switch immediately now here to PHP 7. So why? So the reason is why. So you have over 2% faster processing speed of the PHP code, and you see 4 times less memory usage. So it will increase, and it will make your server more responsible. It makes it faster. Everything, your user will be happy. Just switch to PHP 7. And if you have things running, you have an old extension that is not ready yet for PHP 7, then you should look for an alternative. Because if it's not ready yet by now, then it's not really, they don't really care, the developers don't really care about the extension anymore. So go and try and switch to PHP 7. This is the best tip, because this is it's the easiest way to improve the performance. And like low-hanging fruits with the most influence, so go for it. But there are other options, of course. So you can cache control. You can use cache control in the configuration file, like htaccess. You can say, okay, those files should be cached by the browser, by the local storage for 2 weeks or 1 week. So if the browser needs this file, it looks first in the local storage. And then if it's outdated, it will request the file again, or it will just use the local storage. So on recurring requests, so if they visit your website, so go to other pages of the website, they don't have to request the files all the time again. So they just use the cache files in the browser. So this is also not easy, not hard to activate. HTTP2, if it's possible, if you can activate it, or if your hosting company provides it, go to HTTP2. This will increase the transmission time by around about 10%. This is the new version of the HTTP protocol. So you know 1.1, of course. So this is the standard. That was the standard for years. And now we have the HTTP2. And there are a lot of improvements for performance, like the channel is open the data is transferred binary and not textual, and we have multiplexing. You can also have one TCP connection and have parallel transmissions, and also a smarter server. So the server can decide, okay, I will push the data that will be requested next, because the server knows if the HTML output is sent back and the next files are JavaScript files or CSS files, then the client will request those files. Or these files. So the server already knows it, and he can proactively push the files already. So it's a good way to improve the performance, the transmission time. All right. What you can do is also using Nginx as a proxy, or even as standalone. It depends how you configure it. If you're able to configure it, because it's quite performant, more performant than Apache. You can use it as a proxy. What I'm actually doing. So my static files are all delivered by Nginx. Only the normal request to the application, to the Joomla application itself, go to Apache. And also you can use reverse caching. So it has also some caching mechanisms that will help you to improve the performance. Using CDN, of course, like we have a lot of out there, Max CDN, Key CDN, and of course, if, it makes more sense if you have more international visitors. So if they're in Japan or whatever, Asia, so they will get all the static files from a server nearby. So they don't have to wait till it goes to Italy or Germany and then send back the information. So the distribution is better. So they will get the static files from a nearby server, and yeah, it's way faster, of course. And use on cloud server, use an on server, because you will have the freedom to adjust, to tweak as much as possible. So you don't have to. You are not dependent on your hosting company, on the package that you have on the contract, because you have all the freedom if you have an own server. But of course, I know it's not that easy. So yeah. But there are ways to use. So if you're interested, I can show you something. You can come to the booth. I can show you also our software that helps you to manage and keep your server secure. And but it requires, of course, a little bit of knowledge or the right tools to do it. And if you want to test your performance, there's a performance that changes. There are some tools out there. I don't have a slide for this. So PageSpeed, like from Google PageSpeed, where you can check what you can improve. So it gives you some hints what you can do, like web page test, Pingdom, GTmetrix. So there are a lot of tools out there that do the request to the server and test the performance of your server. So I'm done. So do we have? Thank you. And thank you for listening, and have fun optimizing your websites. Any questions?
Will we be able, where can we get
Sorry.
a copy of that presentation?
Wait a second here. That it's recorded.
Where can we get a copy of the presentation?
The copy? Yes. Should I share the slides, you mean?
The slideshow, yes.
Okay, I can share the slides, but I don't know where. I can tweet it. You know my Twitter handle, Viktor Vogel? Okay, I will tweet the slides later. I will upload them to SlideShare.
Hi, Victor. Thank you for the presentation. One question about caching, because caching is can be quite confusing. In the general configuration, you have caching options, but if you activate the page cache plugin,
yeah,
does the general configuration cache still play a role, since the cache plugin caches the whole page?
No, it doesn't play a role, because if you have the first request, if you don't have cached anything, it doesn't matter, because you still have all the same things to do, the database queries or whatever. So I wouldn't use both solutions. I would just go for one and not to interfere them.
Yeah.
Deactivate the global ones, but just use the patch cache. If you're not satisfied, if you have dynamic content like a counter or whatever on it, then maybe it's better to go with a not so strict cache.
Maybe we should make it clear in Joomla that you'd better use one or the other, because there are some presentations explaining all the caches, but you never have a hint of do this or do that.
Yeah.
Even in the comments of the backend when you hover or whatever,
I know what you mean.
It's quite abstract.
I don't know. Do we have a good documentation? No documentation for this? No, not really. Yeah. We will find a way. But if you're going with the plugin, you don't need the global caching, because it doesn't make sense, because it's cached anyway, the complete output. So why should you activate the other cache mechanism?
You're the first person in the world able to tell me that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.